Good morning, everyone. We are going to start in about 2 minutes. I still have people logging on. We had quite a few registered for this webinar, so I want to give everybody a few minutes to log on. I'm Heather Smith. I'm with the MCA. I'm the Director of Engineering for Private Markets. And I also run all of the social media and digital marketing efforts here at the MCA.
Mute video.
Okay. So it's 10:01, and as we go through the introductions, probably get a few more people to log on. With that, again, I'm Heather Smith with the MCA. Steve Walkus is still on here. Andrew hasn't turned his video on, but I'll introduce him.
So, I'm trying to turn my video on, but it says that the host has stopped me from showing my video.
Oh, allow Andrew to use his video. Oh, am I?
There we go. All right, I'm in.
Hi, Andrew. This is our 2021 MCA Winter Webinar Series. In lieu of doing a winter conference, a formal winter conference, and this year, the MCA is doing a lengthy webinar series every Tuesday and Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11:30. That series today is sponsored by Superior Materials, Levy Companies, and St. Mary's. So thank you to our webinar sponsors today. Let's see if I can change my screen here. The webinar format for today's question and answers and etc. The approximate time of this webinar will be about an hour, but we want to leave time for question and answers. You can use the question and answer button, the chat, raise your hand, which is a little tougher to see, but I will interrupt Andrew as throughout. I'll be watching the chat and the question and answers so that we can interrupt and kind of keep the flow of information going. So please use those options to get your questions, get your questions to him. Those logged in through Zoom will receive one CEH or PDH credit, and it'll be emailed following this webinar. So you will automatically get that in an email, the one that you registered for. Now today, our speaker, I'm actually super excited, and are on a committee for the NRMCA, their social media committee. So I've met him a few months ago, and he's fantastic. So while relatively new to the concrete industry, he joins this industry with over 10 years of social media managing experience. His love for his favorite candy, Reese's peanut butter cups, launched him into the world of being a social media influencer. He thoroughly enjoys eating, sleeping, and breathing everything regarding social media. And I have to interject here, this is true. When we are in our meetings, I'm like, wait a minute, I thought I knew this pretty well. And Andrew's like, yeah, I got this new thing that we're doing. So he knows what he's talking about. As the social media manager for the Sylvie Group companies, he's excited to take his experience as an influencer and content creator and pour it into the concrete industry. And so I would like to add, I've been following Andrew on social media since we met back in probably November, and he does a great job for Sylvie. The reason I wanted him to come speak is because Sylvie Companies is not an association. They're a ready-mix producer company who has hired a person to do company. So I wanted Andrew to talk to you guys about what he's doing for Sylvie Companies. And people, he actually didn't go to school for concrete. He went to school to be, I'll let him tell a little bit about it, but he's lives, eats, and breathes social media and marketing. So I thought you would really enjoy listening to his perspective on our industry and how he is using social media to take Sylvie companies into that work. So with that, Andrew, I'll let you take over, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And whoops, there's the thank you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and you can share yours, and we will get started with this webinar.
Perfect. Thank you for that great intro. Let me just get my presentation up here. Share. All right. Hopefully you can all see this. I'm going to rely on Heather to kind of be the confirmation that you can all see, because if Heather can see it, I assume everyone else can see it. All right. So hi, I'm Andrew. Just to kind of let you all know that this event is BYOR, so bring your own Reese's. I hope you're all munching away at your breakfast snack. That's going to be my breakfast for the moment. But yeah, Reese's and concrete, embracing social media. So just a little bit about who I am, just to give you a little idea. So I'm Andrew. I actually went to college for engineering, computer engineering, at the Rochester Institute of Technology, way up in North New York. But after working in the investment banking firm and working in tech, I realized that really wasn't for me. I actually started doing social media management while I was in college, and at the time, that wasn't really a career. So that just kind of gives you an idea about how fast social media is really becoming a career path. Because I graduated back in about 2016. And once I graduated, that's really when companies started hiring for social media managers. By then, I already had my degree. So the whole Reese's thing is actually, I started this, content creator concept where I was making music videos about how much I love Reese's peanut butter cups. And it was simply because I didn't see anyone else making this kind of content. So I figured, why not make the content that you want to see? So me being the creative and artistic person that I am, I made one music video, it went viral. And once you kind of go viral on the internet demands more content. So I kept making more music videos and more content. And I got viral on pretty much anything I made regarding Reese's. And then eventually the Hershey company found out that I existed, loved me to death. And, I kind of have a nice little side gig with them. So if any of you love Reese's peanut butter cups, I do as well. I also have in my refrigerator as we speak about 4 or 5 different types of Reese's that I can't necessarily talk about, but will be sold in 2022 and 2023. So I've got kind of some nice secrets that I get to enjoy as a side perk. But that actually led me into becoming a social media manager for the Sylvie Group companies, because my manager, Larry Sylvie III, I'm not sure if he's in this chat yet or not, but he actually reached out to me on Instagram saying that, hey, we need a social media manager for our company. We love what you do. He loves Reese's. I'm guessing that's how he found me, because he probably loves Reese's just as much as I do. But he reached out and said, hey, we need someone to manage our social media. We're trying to grow our page. We're trying to really dominate the digital marketing space. And I was at the time looking to get out of my tech job, and lo and behold, I get to work for a company that needs social media help, and in Philadelphia, where I'm from. So, a lot of the stars align to kind of make this happen. And I couldn't be more excited to really be a part of this industry. Like I said, I don't really know much about concrete, or at least I didn't when I got hired. I've been hired for about a year now, and I've definitely learned a lot about concrete, cement, construction, and all the things that go into companies like this, and companies like the companies that are probably involved in this chat today. And going into that, being an outsider, I think, is such a true benefit for being a social media manager, because again, I came in not really knowing much about concrete or construction, but what I know about social media, and I know about the power of it, that companies are able to really increase their sales, increase their value, and increase their overall brand awareness for a lot of different particular reasons that you may be looking for. So a lot of the challenges that I think a lot of companies are dealing with today can probably ultimately be solved with a little bit of marketing help on the social media front. So that's me. This is kind of what we're going to go over today. The value of having social media and the value of having someone manage social media. That's actually kind of the most important thing, is that you have someone managing this. The platforms that we use here at Sylvie, the content that we make, and the tools that I use. So hopefully this will be very short, very sweet. Hopefully you won't have any questions. Hopefully I did a good job. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt at any point. So let's get through it. Value. So the main value out of having a social media manager and having your company really diving 100% into social media is you're going to be increasing your brand recognition. Now, what's funny is I grew up in Philadelphia my entire life. So did my family and so did my friends. And I had never heard of the Sylvie Group companies, which is crazy because, I'm assuming the same goes for a lot of the concrete companies in Michigan, but Sylvie has supplied the concrete for a lot of neighborhoods and a lot of residential homes. They supply the concrete for a lot of the buildings and infrastructure that takes place in Philadelphia and the greater parts of New Jersey. Yet I had never in my life heard of this company. And it simply, comes down to the fact that if you're not on this device that we all carry with us and that we all literally are glued to all day, every day, if you're constantly not making content and showing off all the incredible things that you're doing, quite frankly, you don't exist. That's kind of the world that we live in today, where if you're not on social media, you do not exist as a brand, as an organization. It doesn't matter how much money you make. If no one is there to see the tree fall, did the tree really fall? Right? So increasing your brand recognition to make sure that people know that you're a company that exists. The other thing is to be your own cheerleader, right? So Sylvie is currently building in Philadelphia one of the tallest, if not the tallest luxury condominium in the city. They're breaking all kinds of records in terms of like PSI in the concrete, height of the building itself, and just the amount of, concrete that we are pouring into just this one building. And before I got here and before, we even started this project, there really wasn't much information about Sylvie, breaking all these records and doing all these incredible projects. We're also, working on building a bridge and repairing a bridge and, building a lot of infrastructure in terms of the roads and, a lot of really incredible things. And if you're not talking about it yourself as a brand, no one's going to do it for you. So that's one of the other really incredible things about social media, is that it's an opportunity for you to say, hey, this is what we're doing. It's awesome. Check it out. And, it's funny, when I was getting hired, the HR department, one of the guys in the HR said that, this guy's not going to want to come work for us. Making social media content about candy is exciting and fun. And, it's really easy and creative to do stuff like that. Concrete's not that fun, or, it's kind of hard to be excited about concrete. And I did not realize that there is an entire fan base, a cult, if you will, when it comes to concrete and construction. Just from diving into other Facebook groups and other Instagram accounts, there are pages that have hundreds of thousands, almost millions of followers simply talking about construction and concrete. Like, there's literally an Instagram page about concrete trucks, specifically about concrete trucks. And they search all of Instagram looking for these very odd looking, color combinations of concrete trucks and, front discharge, rear discharge, all these trucks, because, all these trucks look so different. And there's a whole page about that, let alone, all the other different types of construction pages that exist. So, there are people out there that love talking about this stuff. So if you're constantly throwing content out there, there will be pages and blogs that will return the favor and talk about, all the incredible stuff that you're doing, as long as you're also talking about it yourself. The other thing is improving company culture. It's crazy how big Sylvie truly is. We're in the concrete world, but we also are dealing in aggregate. So we have our own salt quarry, or not salt, sand quarry, rock quarry, and we have a place up by the riverside where we hold our salt and also store our cement. And when you're working in the concrete part of our company, you don't really get to see the salt side or the sand side or the rock side, the mining of the rock, exploding of the rock, right? And vice versa. If you're working in, our aggregates, you don't really get to see the concrete side of things, right? And same thing for if you're working in our office, like if you're an accountant or, you work in HR or, any of our office roles, you don't get to see in real time all the incredible buildings that we're building and all the incredible work and mining and, digging for all of our aggregates. You don't really get to see the full, face value of our company. And with social media, now that we've kind of started to expand to showcase all the things that we do, a lot of people at work really get to see, wow, I knew that our company was big, but I didn't realize it was this big, right? So, that, and then plus it's nice to, be involved with your company, right? If you really truly want to, keep your employees happy, and if you really want to keep your employees excited to work for you, one of the best ways to go about it is to make sure they know what it is that, their company does, right? Some people have such deep focus in their particular part of the company that they're just blind to the amazement that, their company is pulling off and all the cool feats. So definitely improving company culture. The other thing is, and from the conversations I've had with Heather and in our NRMCA meetings, is that a lot of concrete companies apparently are having the struggle with finding new drivers, right? They're struggling with filling the cars to go pour the concrete, right? And finding new employees, finding new accountants, finding new marketers, finding new people to work in HR, finding new people to be their plant managers. Some of you probably have just built new plants and you need to fill those plants with plant managers and mechanics and drivers. One of the best ways to do that, again, is not just throwing up a post on Indeed or LinkedIn, but simply existing on social media. We get so many messages now where I've kind of had to start filtering our messages on Instagram of drivers literally asking us, hey, are you hiring? I was a CDL driver for this company and, I would love to come and work for Sylvie, because they can see what we do. People today, when they're applying for jobs, they want to know what the company does, right? It's not just a matter of I want a job just to have a job. They want to work someplace that, they can see what the company is doing and they can understand, all the different aspects of, what makes them want to join that company as opposed to another company. And the other thing is, the big game here is, if I were to Google best concrete company or best ready mix company or best construction company, near me, or just in general, you would want your company to show up on Google on the first page. Like, that's really, the ultimate game that we're all playing here, is when I'm looking for, or, when someone's looking to come work for, a construction company or be a new driver, the first thing they're going to do is go to Google to search for jobs or go to LinkedIn. And if we're not showing up, right, the best way to make sure that we are showing up is to constantly fill the internet with proof of our existence. And, doing that constantly and doing that for a long enough time, you're eventually going to get to the point where people in Michigan will search for best concrete, best ready mix, best construction, places to work in as a driver. And hopefully your company is the one that shows up on the first page of Google, and not just on the first page of Google, but the first page of where they, give the company details right above the first few links of Google. So that's kind of what you're all should be hoping to strive for. Also, celebrating your employees. Again, kind of going on, the company culture aspect, it's great to acknowledge the people that work for your company, right? Some of you probably have employees that have worked for your company for, 10, 20, 30 plus years in the industry. And it's great to recognize, a lot of the people that really work for your company for the long term. And it's also just, it's nice as a company to make sure you're recognizing the people who work for your company. Because again, it's as an employee, it feels good to know that my company cares about me as a person, not just as an employee, right? And the fact that they're reminding that, this company exists because of my great work, and that, the harder I work and the better of an employee that I can be, the better this company will be. And again, a lot of that really takes place in the social media space. Also, this is something that we're also trying to make sure that we're doing here at Sylvie is becoming a thought leader in industry conversations. We have people who work at Sylvie who have been, eating, sleeping, and breathing concrete and construction, their whole life. And the amount of knowledge that they know, and especially from what I've learned just from, talking and having conversations with some of them, is that they really know their stuff. And to the point where they could go to any conference or any webinar like this and really drop incredible knowledge about what makes their concrete different than other companies, and why their concrete works for certain projects, and the amount of science and technology that goes into the blood of this company, right? So as much as I know about social media and digital marketing, there's people who work at Sylvie who know just as much as I do about social media as they do about construction and concrete. So you can really start leading the conversation about what's going on in the industry, what's the next step that's going to take concrete to the next level, right? As an industry, we are competing against wood, we are competing against steel, metal, and a lot of the other different types of elements in construction, as a whole. So yes, we are, construction and concrete, we are kind of our own companies, but as an industry as a whole, we need to make sure that we are leading the conversation of how are our products going to be used in the future. And again, a lot of that happens on the internet space because no one's really reading magazines anymore. No one's really, having these kind of conversations in any other medium except for social media. So the last two are, kind of one in the same, but, gaining new customers and projects and showcasing those customers and projects. Now, this is kind of the main source of content that we're really focusing on in our social media pages. So we're actually working with this company that's, came all the way down from Massachusetts. Now we're out in Philadelphia and New Jersey, but this company is, driving all the way from Massachusetts to work with us to build a new storage unit up in Northern Jersey. And, a lot of, different clients and customers are, again, starting to message us because they're seeing the incredible marketing that we're doing. And they're seeing that we're highlighting all these projects that our customers and our clients that are working with us are doing. So they also get marketing on, our posts as well. So whenever we're at a project and we're working with, a contractor or another client, I'm making sure that I'm tagging them in our social media posts, whether it's on LinkedIn or Facebook and Instagram. And sometimes it's hard because they don't exist on those platforms, or they only exist on one or not the other. But, the fact that we're showcasing their work as well as ours, really builds that, B2B business and that relationship that is kind of unmatched these days, right? The collaborations of, how we're building all these incredible buildings and infrastructures. It's not just us. We're not just pouring concrete and, leaving. There's people who are, flattening out the concrete. There are people who are, making sure that the amount of yardage that we're pouring gets poured the right way. The GCs that are involved in, helping us, making sure that the concrete is, the right slumps and the right, temperature, and making sure it's a whole teamwork. And it blows my mind the amount of people that it takes to really build a building. And, showcasing everyone involved is such a great way to really increase the value of not just your company, but the value of what you're bringing to the table on the digital marketing front. So that's really kind of everything in a nutshell in the value part. I'll take a quick pause just in case anyone has any questions. Let me check the chat. Thanks. I love Marvel. Yeah, I don't remember where the Marvel came in, but yeah, big Iron Man fan. In case anyone.
I have a Marvel poster, Andrew, behind me.
Okay. I was like, do I have like that Iron Man poster somewhere? Okay, cool.
No, it doesn't look like we have any open questions yet, but I'm going to let you keep going, and hopefully we'll drum up questions as we go.
Awesome. All right. So diving into the platforms that we use. Now, we primarily here use Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube, or as I call it, the Filthy Five. In terms of my experience, these are really the five that you need. We don't really use Twitter. Twitter is not, in my opinion, the best for brands anymore in terms of value that you receive out of the content that you push out of it. I know some companies still have a Twitter account, but they probably just don't use it. It remains dormant. But the cool thing about this is that a lot of the content that we put on either of these platforms can be, regurgitated into any one of the other platforms. So for example, Instagram is my favorite. If you're not on social media as a concrete company and you want to know where to start, I would 100% recommend Instagram because it's a Swiss Army knife of platforms, right? So you can do pictures, you can do videos. Now that they've changed their algorithm, you can actually start selling products directly on Instagram in a very Alibaba, eBay-esque way. And the beautiful thing is it's connected to Facebook because Facebook owns Instagram. So whenever you post to Instagram, you can automatically have your post posted onto Facebook. So with Instagram, you really get everything that you would need: pictures, videos, long form videos, short form videos, stories. But stories are kind of on everything now, but stories are a expiring post that lasts only for about 24 hours. But if you start with Instagram, you can really start to see the value in the different types of content you can make. And then when you start your other platforms, such as TikTok or YouTube, and LinkedIn, you can really start spreading the content that you're doing on Instagram onto those other platforms, or vice versa. The content that you're making on YouTube and TikTok, you can throw right into Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. So just kind of a quick run through of everything that we kind of do with each platform. Facebook is primarily where we post our pictures and videos of our projects. Sometimes we post our holiday posts depending on the holiday. And my personal favorite use of Facebook right now is I know that some of you probably have a Facebook business page, but you don't get a lot of traction on your Facebook business page. Like you might get 1 or 2 likes on your company page. The secret sauce to that is Facebook really loves to implement something called Facebook groups. And groups is a kind of a club where you can join and talk about construction, talk about concrete. So I found out that there's about 15 or so clubs that I've joined on Facebook groups, and collectively those hold about 500,000 users. Now, what I've done or what I've seen is that most of these groups, like some of them are called Concrete Mixer Mayhem or Concrete Mixer Drivers, everything ready mix, everything construction, everything concrete. These are the names of the groups, and I promise you, some of your employees, some of your drivers are members of these groups, and they're constantly talking about the company or the cool projects that they were pouring at. Some of them have GoPro cameras on their trucks and just posting videos and pictures of their 4 a.m. pour or their last pour of the day. And I joined these groups personally and as our Sylvie page, and anytime we post our pictures and videos, we throw it into the groups. And it's incredible how many people, one, recognize the Sylvie brand now, but two, how many of our employees and our drivers are so excited to see, the projects that they were pouring at, showing up in these groups, and they kind of get to pump their chest a little bit saying, yeah, that's my company. And, that's the really cool project that we did. So, if your Facebook page is not getting a lot of traction, I highly recommend, joining in on these Facebook groups and sharing what your concrete company is doing onto those group pages. That's my little secret sauce. Instagram, I've already explained that you can do just about everything and anything. LinkedIn is one of the most underrated platforms. And to be honest with you, as a millennial, I wasn't using it as much because LinkedIn is, again, believed to just be for, job posting and, just kind of business talk. Or it's supposed to be the business version of Facebook, because sometimes, some companies block Facebook and block Instagram, but you can go onto LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, we've actually just started using it similarly to how we use Facebook. Anytime we're posting any of our projects that we're doing, we'll throw it onto LinkedIn, and we'll get it shared by a few of our employees that are talking about, this is an incredible project, an incredible company that we're working with, incredible clients and customers. But one of the things we started to do when I got hired was we tried to get some of our employees to kind of write thought pieces about, what's it like working in dispatch? What's it like being a driver? What's it like, being an accountant? And, how is it different than if you were an accountant at another firm, or if you were, what's the challenges of being a dispatch or, in the dead of winter, right? Or, for a project that has, over 1,000 yards being poured. A lot of those things, a lot of those write-ups, we try to get some of our employees to write up and post on LinkedIn. So that's, again, just another avenue of us trying to, again, expand our knowledge in the industry, but also kind of show off who we are and what we do. TikTok and YouTube, those are strictly video based. I know some of you probably have heard about TikTok. I promise you, it's not just dancing videos, as that's kind of what TikTok is known for. TikTok's power really comes in the short form video, which is going to be taking over social media in the next 5 years. Because, again, people have things to do and they don't have time to watch a 10-minute video. But TikTok, those short form videos are so engaging and so entertaining. And the crazy thing about TikTok is that, unlike all the other platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, you really only see the content of the people that you're following, right? So people see our content if they follow us. Whereas on TikTok, it's a little bit the other way. You'll tend to see a lot of content of people that you don't follow, companies you don't follow, based on what TikTok thinks you're interested in. So if you're on TikTok and you're constantly looking and following other construction pages, it'll show you our stuff, even if you're not following us, in the hopes that we're making the kind of content that you would like to see and watch. So I love TikTok. We started using TikTok a little bit last year, and we're definitely diving headfirst into it in 2021. So we're going to be hopefully the #1 concrete and ready mix company on TikTok, making the content that we're making.
And
I'm really excited about that.
I'm going to interrupt you here for a second. We have some things in the chat I just want you to touch on before you keep moving here. One of the questions says, I've noticed that a lot of the employees are enjoying the fact that I've been creating content on the Filthy Five. How should I encourage them to post, or at least like or engage with my posts?
All right, so that's Chaz. I can actually answer that real quick. Chaz is one of the social media managers I've actually been talking to lately, because we're working in that company I was talking about that came down from Massachusetts. That's Chaz's company.
Yeah.
So one of the challenges is, one, making sure that your employees and the people that work for your company know that your social media platforms exist. So when I got hired, I literally sent out a mass email to all of our drivers and all of our employees saying, hi, I'm the social media manager. Here are all of our content platforms, and here's the links to all of them. Now, a lot of them probably don't use all 5 of these platforms on the regular, but I guarantee you that they use at least one of these daily. So, I would recommend sending out an email, making it very clear, hey, this is our Facebook page, this is our Instagram page, this is our LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube. These are the links, follow them to see the content that we're making. And the cool thing is that a lot of them already, post on their own social media pages. They just didn't know that they could tag their company. So again, encouraging them to, show the work that they're doing. Again, I know some drivers post webcams or GoPros on their camera, on their trucks, to show the videos and pictures of the pours that they're doing. So I highly encourage you to send out information constantly, reminding them what your platforms are and where you exist.
And then the other, someone commented in, also adding social media links to your email signatures is helpful. I think that's a great idea.
Yes, that's what I do.
To do that, as well as, you talked a little bit about those Facebook groups. I know that was something that was new to me. We talked about it a few months ago. And do you have a method to finding those relevant and active groups?
Yeah, so Facebook makes it like very easy to find the groups. So if you go to Facebook, they've changed their layout a little bit, but you should be able to search how you would search for like a friend. You can actually search for whatever your industry is. So you can search concrete and or ready mix or construction, and it'll actually show you, do you want to search by people? Do you want to search by pages? Or do you want to search by groups? And you can obviously go click and search by groups, and it'll tell you the names of those groups. I don't like that they don't put it in order of like relevancy, or, you can't put it in order of like number of members in the group, but it does a pretty good job at trying to figure out what you're looking for. So, what I did was I searched concrete and I looked at the groups and I found, oh, this group has literally 300,000 members, and it'll tell you how many posts that people have been posting in a day, in a week, in a month. So you can see kind of how active it is. So if it has like 35 posts a day, right, that's a pretty active group. But then there'll be posts or there'll be groups where it has like maybe 1,000 members and it has like 5 posts a month, right? So obviously it's not a very active group, but that doesn't mean that people aren't still seeing the content. So I always just kind of join any group that has at least 2,000 or more members in the group. And then obviously sometimes these groups are private, so you have to answer like these questions that they, make sure that you're joining the right group. So it'll be like, do you work in concrete? Yes. Do you have a legitimate position at said concrete company? What is the name of your concrete company, right? They're just basic questions just to make sure that you're not accidentally joining a construction group when you're really looking for like a food group, right? So I honestly just search for them within Facebook, and every month or so I'll try to see if I can find a new one that I haven't joined yet, because these groups pop up as more people discover that you can have groups. So again, just search for them, search whatever the keyword of your industry is, or search whatever you're looking for in those kind of groups, and just look and see what groups are active, what groups are not. Join them. Some of them do have those rules where they don't want you to be spamming, but most groups are designed to be spammed, right? So, I'm in a social media page group where, I just talk about being a social media manager and all the techniques that I use, but you're not allowed to like post what your company is or, try to use it to gain more followers. It's more or less meant to find other social media managers who have, tips and tricks that you may not be aware of. But the concrete groups that I'm in are 100% meant for, posting all the things that you're doing at your company, posting all the incredible work, and posting all the pictures and videos galore that you have. So, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, go on, continue on. I think that covers all the questions that we had so far.
Cool. And then I think the last thing I was talking about was YouTube. Again, we just started our YouTube page really kind of last year. I mean, we've had it for a while, but once I got hired, we really started focusing on the long form content. So we're going to start making a lot of long form, videos over like 2 minutes long to post onto our YouTube channel. And again, those 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute videos can also go onto Instagram because they have, the space for that. And again, I know a lot of, the big questions when it comes to social media is how do we increase our followers? How do we increase the amount of people that actually look at our content? And the simple answer to that is by making content. You're not going to get followers onto a social media platform that you're not adding content to. So that's one thing. But the other thing is keep in mind that followers is a vanity metric, right? So just because your company has, 100,000 followers on their Instagram page doesn't necessarily mean that that those are even real followers. Because I know a lot of companies try to buy followers to make themselves seem legitimate. And what that actually does, it actually hurts your platforms, because you'll see that you'll have like 100,000 followers, but your posts are only getting like 5, 10, 15 likes. And Instagram really is trying to, most of these platforms are really trying to bite down on purchase followers, fake followers, just to make it seem like your account is bigger than it really is. The best way to grow your account and the best way to really get engaging and followers that you really want to be following your content is by posting a lot of content, quality and quantity, and consistently. So we post just about every single day on Facebook and Instagram. We're about to post a lot on TikTok. YouTube, it takes a while because again, I'm kind of a one-man band. So I'm also the video editor when it comes to a lot of this content. So sometimes it's taking me a little bit of time to kind of make these videos while also keeping up with the posts that we're doing on our other platforms. But again, over the long period, over the course of a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, the amount of content that we're going to be putting into our social media platforms is going to be exponential. So that's just a little bit about our platforms that we use. The question I think some of you probably have is like, what kind of content are you making? Like, what are you doing on all of these platforms? So again, one of the main ones is we're highlighting our customers, our clients, and our projects. So we poured X amount of concrete, X amount of yards at this location with client ABC to build this. And that's really kind of the basic format of a lot of our posts. We actually just posted one, I believe, yesterday for Chaz's group that's up in Massachusetts, the Turner Brothers. We poured about 200 something yards in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and we're building a storage unit for food or refrigerated storage unit for food. And again, those kind of posts, again, it allows you to brag about what you're doing and where you're doing it. And we expand throughout pretty much all of New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, up towards like Bucks County and southern Pennsylvania, and about as far west, about as Westchester. And the amount of project that we're pouring every single day is incredible. But again, I can't go out to all these, but you need to have somebody who goes to these projects, right? You can't have just your senior vice president or your CEO, or just rely strictly on your drivers to provide you the content. You need to have someone who literally drives out to these projects, whips out the camera, whips out their iPhone, whips out the drone, my favorite tool, and provides the content, gets the content to upload to your platforms.
Andrew, I do have a couple quick questions here I'm going to have you touch because they kind of go with what you're talking about.
Yes.
Do you have to get permission from the customer or client before you post?
That's a great question. And it actually depends sometimes. So there are cases where I will go to a project and they need someone to check in. So there have been times where I've gone to a project site and I have my camera ready, I've got my drone ready, and the GC comes over to me and says, "Hey, we know you're Sylvie, but the owner of this project actually doesn't want any content, any pictures taken at this time or at this project. So make sure you're just aware of who the GCs are and what projects are happening." Again, we would love to just post all of our projects, but it's very rare. But in some cases, they don't want any construction footage taken because, again, there might be liability issues. There might be things that they just don't want people to just have access to the general public, and they don't want anyone, especially with COVID these days, they sometimes want to limit the amount of people that are actually on these project sites. But for the most part, a lot of the clients that we work with, they actually love it every time I show up. Sometimes I've actually gotten yelled at because I don't come to their projects enough. Some projects are like, "Hey, we've been doing like 100 projects this month and we've only seen you at one of our projects." I was like, "I'm sorry, that's literally why I'm here. I'm here to document the really cool projects and pours that you guys are doing." And sometimes they actually post our trucks on their pages, and again, they come back at me and they're like, "Hey, we posted your trucks on like 10 of our posts and we haven't seen you in like a month." And again, it's just me here. So if I had like a team of 10 of us, going out to all these projects, that'd be a different story. But yeah, most of our clients and most of our customers love it when we're showing up to the project. And actually some of them even reach out to us to give us a heads up saying, "Hey, we're pouring with you on Thursday. Like, we would love to have your social media guy show up and, document and get pictures and videos, not just for your purposes, but for our purposes as well." So it kind of goes both ways.
Well, I've also noticed for the jobs, and some of those jobs we have here in Michigan as well, ones that you cannot maybe go onto. Sometimes they'll send you a batch of maybe 10 photos or something that they've released
Right.
that you can use for marketing messages as well. I do have a hand raised. I don't know if that was about Aaron. I'm going to allow you to talk and ask your question. You did have your hand raised. So see if.
Sorry about that. I must have bumped my screen. I'm all set.
Oh, hi, Aaron. I'll meet you again. So I just wanted to make sure I got that. There was one other quick question. I was told that some of the platforms will stop showing your content on folks' news feeds if you have a number of low-ranking posts in a row. So too much low-performing content can be damaging. Do you have any quick thoughts on this before we continue?
So there's a lot of speculation about how these algorithms work, and again, a lot of it is speculation. If you have like less than 100 followers on your page, you're not going to get a lot of engagement on your posts, right? But again, the best way to grow is to make sure that you're using the right hashtags. And I know a lot of social media managers actually hate, researching hashtags because it's such a project on itself to make sure that you're using the right hashtags to make sure that yourself is discoverable. But again, if you want to really start to see your posts gain a lot of traction, you need to use your other platforms to feed your platforms, right? So if you're not getting a lot of traction on your Facebook pages or your Facebook posts, again, try those groups that I recommended. We saw a lot of people start to follow us from those group pages where I was posting, follow us directly onto our pages and start liking us organically on our pages. Unfortunately, Instagram doesn't have something similar where you can have a group that you can join on Instagram, but Instagram is slowly getting into the way of a discoverability page on their platform. So if you're liking a lot of construction and if you're liking a lot of concrete content on your own Instagram page, Instagram will try its best on their discover page to show you other companies and other pages that are kind of posting the content that you've been liking. So again, it takes time to really build a solid page, and it takes time to really start to get some engagement going. But I promise you, if you're posting consistent content, quality content, and don't worry about the few posts that you're getting, low engagement with. It's not like Instagram's going to punish you. It's like, this person specifically, from this particular page had 4 or 5 bad posts. We're never going to show their posts ever again. It's just a lot of content is being shared onto these platforms at so often, and people are on these pages at different times of the day. So you really just need to figure out a strategy to figure out when the best time to post. There are ways to figure that out. There's data analytics that you can actually read onto your platforms to find out when are people actually on Instagram, right? When are your followers on Instagram? And that's probably the best time when you should be posting. How long are they on Instagram for? If you post 3 times a day, in the morning, afternoon, and night, you're probably going to hit most of your followers. So again, it's a slow build. You're going to get low engagement for a while, especially if you're beginning, or at least when you start really getting into posting a lot. But I promise you, over time, over the course of a month, a year, 5 years, give it, you're going to start seeing your content really starting to become more engaging.
So one last question, and then I'll let you continue on some kind of one that we're always trying to figure out in the construction industry. Do you allow, or does Sylvia allow, open posting by all of their employees? Do you feel like there's any dangers in not controlling the message? Do you control the message? How do you engage with your employees in that respect?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So here at Sylvie, we really only have about 5 or so employees who are really into social media. One of our drivers literally posts hours of content throughout the day. And it's constantly about, she's in her truck and, how much she loves, pouring and all the sites and projects. And for the most part, I haven't seen anything that's questionable. I haven't seen anything where it's like, I really wish you didn't post that, or I wish you really didn't say that. But I do know that can be the case sometimes where, maybe a disgruntled employee will, say that, this company is horrible, don't work for, this concrete company. And again, a lot of that really has to go through HR, dealing with disgruntled employees. But for the most part, we don't really experience that. But at the same time, our page and our platform, we control what we post. And if someone tags us in something that, I feel is detrimental to like our brand image, or is saying something negative about us, you can actually remove yourself from being tagged by those posts. Again, you can't really control, everything that everyone says. Tomorrow someone can be like, Sylvie's the worst company in the world. We can't really have them take down that post, especially if they don't work for us. We can ask them, that'd be great. I'll give you actually a great example. I actually posted my first week, I actually posted a drone shot of one of our projects, and it appeared that one of the construction workers on the site, project site, was wearing their mask and their nose was exposed. So their mask wasn't fully covering their mouth. And we posted that on our Facebook page. We posted that on our Instagram page. And the client that worked for that company, or that the GC had worked for, asked us to take down that post because, if you zoom in, again, it was a drone shot. So it was from like hundreds of feet in the air. But if you zoom in, you can see that the person standing there doesn't have their nose fully covered with their mask. This was at the height of COVID, back in like, April or May. So again, they asked us to take that down. And again, I was gladly able to, take that down in respect of, making sure that we're not putting our clients or our customers into, a bad rep of not following protocol. But again, it's a rare case where something like that happens. It's a rare case where someone's asking us to take something down, or we have to ask someone else to take a post down. Hope that answers.
Yeah, I think so. Why don't you continue on with content ideas?
Sure.
The chat is pretty active, so guys, keep posting your questions in here.
I love it. So again, one of the other content ideas is, again, just showcasing the locations and plants you have. We have about 13 different plants throughout the state of New Jersey and Philadelphia and northeastern Pennsylvania. We actually just opened one, our first plant, directly in the city of Philadelphia. We're really excited about it. And it actually got posted in the news recently in the Philadelphia Business Journal. But we're posting our rock quarries and our sand quarries and our mounds of salt for when it starts snowing again. I firmly believe winter exists, even though it's been like 50, 60 degrees over here in Philadelphia in December and January. But, the cool thing is like, we'll post these, plants that we have, these really beautiful, large plants that are by the riverfront, or, that get a great backdrop of the city. And we'll post these, quarries that we have, and people will be like, wow, I did not know that Sylvie had access to all of these plants. Like, we thought Sylvie just had this one plant up in North Jersey where I am, right? We didn't realize they had plants everywhere. We didn't realize they had this huge quarry in the middle of New Jersey where they're exploding, rocks, in the middle of the day, almost every single day. We didn't realize that they had, this sand dredge that they're, pulling sand out of, for, again, their aggregates. A lot of people don't realize how big of a company we really are. And I'm sure a lot of companies in Michigan are the exact same way. You're not just concrete, you have your aggregates, but again, no one knows that, you're as large as you are because you're not posting about it. And it's really exciting for people who really love concrete and construction to see, all the cool things and how we really get all of our materials for our concrete. Company events, again, I know with COVID that, those kind of are on the hold at the moment. But I've been told before I got hired, well before COVID, was that, my company did a lot of different things for holiday events. We used to host, tailgates with the Philadelphia Eagles in the parking lots. And there's a lot of really fun things that like our company does, and I'm sure a lot of your companies do, that you kind of have to put on hold because a lot of us are working from home. A lot of us are working remote. But when those open up again, you can really, talk about and post about the cool things that your company is doing together as a whole. The equipment, again, there's pages on Instagram and Facebook that are literally just devoted to the trucks, the tools that you're using, the pumps. I mean, there's literally a fandom of just like concrete equipment. And, I know there's some conferences that, again, got put on hold, that Con Expo, I think it's called, but, they're showing off all the cool construction equipment that you can all spend millions and billions of dollars on for your company. But you get to showcase all these really cool tools that your company is using. And documentaries. That's actually one of the bigger forms of content that we're working on right now. We're doing a day in the life series. So we actually just wrapped up a day in the life of a diesel mechanic. And the point of that is for when people are looking to work for us, if they're trying to apply for a diesel mechanic role, we have a video to show them exactly what a diesel mechanic does at our company. And we're going to be trying to do that for just about every role we have here at Sylvie. So that way, when people are applying, they can see what they're going to do. I think that's such an important thing now when it comes to applying for jobs is you want to know what you're going to do every day. You know, a lot of these job applications and job descriptions are so vague where, you know, you have no idea what it is like your Monday to Friday is going to look like. And I know that in concrete and construction, your Monday to Friday is like highly unpredictable. You have no idea what your Friday is going to look like on Monday, and you have no idea what your Monday is going to look like on Friday. But you know, showcasing what it is that our employees do, not just for people applying, but just for the general public. I think it's just really great content and really great to see, get an inside look at, you know, a day to day for everyone here. New and current employees and drivers. Again, as I was saying before, you know, it's great to showcase our employees to make them feel like they're desired and they're appreciated for working with us. And, you know, I know a lot of the drivers personally are introverts and they're always scared when I show up with the camera and my iPhone. But some of them can't wait to see me because they're like, yeah, I finally get to be on the Instagram page. We have hundreds of drivers and I haven't gotten to meet all of them, but, you know, some of them, when I do get to, you know, meet them and, you know, learn who they are and learn what their story is and learn how they got into being a concrete driver, you know, those are stories that we like to share on our pages because, again, it's something relatable that I think a lot of other employees in our industry and drivers in our industry can relate to. Yeah, holidays. We have a holiday post every, you know, holiday for what it is. Normally what most companies do is they just post a generic, you know, happy 4th of July and then call it a day. What I like to do and what we've actually started and hopefully we'll continue to do is do some really fun videos on, you know, the different holidays. So for example, we just did a Christmas video. This little kid who's like 7 years old said that all he wanted for Christmas was a Sylvie truck, like a toy truck. And, you know, we had them. And we took it one step further. We actually got one of our drivers to dress up as Santa Claus and deliver the toy truck in a real truck directly to his house on Christmas Eve. And that was like the coolest thing I think I've done at this company so far. But it's like videos like that that are just really creative and just we go above and beyond in our community. Again, to one, make sure that people know we exist, but two, we get to give back to our state and give back to the people that support us. And, you know, they may not work for us, but, you know, they like what we do and they see our trucks all the time. And, you know, I get messages and emails from people saying like, hey, I saw the Sylvie truck, are you nearby? And I got to explain that, you know, we have hundreds of trucks and that I'm not at every single truck. Like my mom sends me a text. My mom literally sent me a text this morning saying, hey, I saw truck 77 on the highway on my way to work. And was like, cool, Mom, thanks. You know, it's great that, you know, my mom's starting to realize that the trucks exist. Because again, she was like me, she had no idea that these trucks existed until I started working here. And again, educate. It's crazy how much you think you know about concrete and cement, and then you meet someone like me who has no idea, or at least before I worked here, had no idea anything about concrete and cement. And I used to think, I'll give you the honest truth, I thought concrete and cement were the exact same thing. And I'm pretty sure most people see a concrete truck and call it a cement truck, and probably see a cement truck and have no idea what it actually is. So, you know, make content where you're educating people about what it is that is concrete, what it is that is cement. There's a lot of engineers out there that are on Instagram and Facebook and, you know, are looking at content. Again, if you're making content that's educating people, those kind of content really go above and beyond. So I know someone will say that like, well, our content's not getting any engagement. People aren't watching it. People aren't liking it. Start making educational content, you know, start, you know, exposing some of the truths about working in concrete. You know, what's the difference between pouring concrete as opposed to pouring asphalt, right? Educate that, you know, talk about, you know, I know how cold Michigan is because it's probably the same temperature as, you know, upstate New York. You know, what's the difficulties of pouring concrete in, you know, freezing weather as opposed to pouring concrete at some place in like Miami where it's, you know, 80 and sunny all year long. You know, what's the difference that you have to do to the concrete? What do you have to add? What do you have to subtract? What are the different protocols in terms of maintaining the concrete in these different weathers? You know, talk about that. Again, you can go on and on about the basics of concrete and ready mix, like what it is, how you make it, where you get your materials from. You can make an infinite list with that. The products, again, you can talk about the sand that you dredge. You can talk about the salt if you're in the salt business. You know, not just concrete. You know, what are the aggregates that you sell on top of your concrete if you do? Again, that really just goes into really digging deep into who your company is and what you do. And the last thing is just get creative. On TikTok, you know, we're kind of to make content where I'm doing certain trends that are popular in TikTok and I'm making it relevant to construction. And I'm starting to make content where we get kind of the fun side and the lighter side of working in concrete and, you know, being an employee here at Sylvie. So there's a lot of really creative things that you can do on social media in terms of memes and trends and videos and, you know, really awesome work that you can do. So I would look into a lot of these trends and these memes and make them relevant to your job. And, you know, kind of have some fun with it. This is kind of the last slide. It just kind of talks about the tools that I use both on the hardware side and the software side. I have a camera, like a full DSL mirrorless camera, and I primarily use that as kind of my main when I'm using like the documentary style content or the long form content. The iPhone that I have is the iPhone 11. Honestly, any iPhone, if like the iPhone 9 takes incredible pictures and videos. That's actually the main tool that I use in terms of content. So if I ever show up somewhere, I whip out my iPhone, I click, get my pictures, and I can upload straight directly from my phone. A drone, I love using a drone. If you are a social media manager for a concrete company, you need to have a drone. You also need to get licensed to get a drone. There's an exam you have to take, but using a drone really gets the full aerial shot of the projects, and it allows you to kind of keep a distance out of the way from a lot of the projects and the pours that are happening. So you can kind of stand, you know, 60 to 100 feet away and just fly the drone, get what you need, pictures, videos, and then, you know, bring it back in and get out of there. I love using the drone. That's my baby. A microphone definitely comes in handy if you're trying to do kind of like interview-esque videos where you're having someone talk. I would recommend getting the kind of microphone that actually clips to like your shirt and not the kind of microphone that actually clips to the camera, because sometimes it'll take all the outside noise and bring that into the video when you really just want the verbal aspects. Tripods come in handy. I have a mini one and a large one. A gimbal, that's really great for moving shots to make sure that everything is still stable. External hard drives. I have so many external hard drives because the amount of content and pictures and videos that I'm taking take up a lot of storage on my computer, and I don't like to have storage on my computer because it slows everything down. So I keep everything on an external hard drive or 5. And extra batteries for everything, just in case, you know, things die whenever I go on these long trips and, you know, these long projects that if I'm there for like 6-7 hours, I want to make sure that my camera doesn't die while I'm there. On the software side, Sprout Social is a post scheduler that we use. It allows us to upload content. So that way I don't have to upload content every day. I can put my content on there and it'll automatically post when I need it to. So instead of posting our Christmas post on Christmas, I can set up our Christmas post in March and say, hey, make sure on December 24th or December 25th, this post goes out to these platforms. It'll automatically do that. And it is a lifesaver, it is a time saver. And I love having Sprout Social. There's another one called Later that I also love as well. Trello is just our task board that we use. I love Trello because it's kind of like a post-it note of all the things you need to get done in terms of in the month, in the year, or just in general. So it allows you to kind of visualize everything that you need to get done. And if you're working with a manager or, you know, your team of social media managers, it allows you to designate different tasks to people. Final Cut Pro is my favorite video editor. It comes exclusively with the MacBook Pro that I use. I don't like using a lot of Adobe's systems because you have to pay monthly for it. Whereas with Final Cut Pro, you only have to pay one time and you can use it for as long as you want. Photoshop is one of those Adobe products that you have to pay monthly for, but again, it's a great photo editing tool just in case you want to make some slight tweaks. If someone's in a picture of a truck and you want to remove them, you can do that. And MailChimp is a software that we're starting to use for a lot of our email marketing. So if we're sending out just kind of a monthly newsletter internally or externally, MailChimp is kind of the way we go about that. And that kind of just brings me to the end. If you have any questions, definitely follow us on our social media platforms at Sylvie_group_companies. I tried to make sure that that is our for most, if not all of our platforms. And if you ever do want to reach out to me, there's my email, all of my social media platforms that I'm on. That's pretty much my handle for everything. So this was a lot of fun. I hope I answered a lot of your questions. I think there might be more questions, but again,
Yeah, I have you, Andrew. I'm going to just chime in on, if you can go back to your last slide there, on the tools.
Yeah.
Right there for software. I'm going to add in, for those of you, Photoshop, there's a little bit of a learning curve with Photoshop if you've never used it before. I use Lightroom. I know it's the paid version of Adobe, but it is pretty reasonable, and it's a lot of presets that you can use for photo editing. It's still for pretty reasonable. I also use Canva.
Yes, Canva.
Because
the last one I meant to put on. Love Canva.
Correct. Canva is like the gold for those of us who are, I would say, semi-homemade or semi-creative. We can take something and make it our own without having to go into Photoshop. So Canva is really reasonable. I think it's $130 a year or something ridiculous like that. And for the paid version, it's fantastic. Michigan Concrete Association and Michigan Construction, which I run both of those. I use HubSpot. That's a pretty hefty paid subscription for software. So if you want to get into that realm, just come talk to me about that. But what Andrew's put up here with the addition of Canva, which I'll put in the chat here, and the Adobe Lightroom is a really easy one to do on your phone and computer as well. And then I do have a couple of questions. You can go to your last page, you know, go to your contact stuff so people can do that. So we have two questions here. What made you choose Sprout Social and MailChimp over the other options? Yep. And go ahead and I'll let you answer that, and then I'll go to the next one.
So we chose Sprout Social. I love Sprout Social for a few reasons. So it is paid. There isn't a free version of Sprout Social, but with Sprout Social, you get a lot of analytics to look into your social media platforms, and you can look at everything together at a bird's eye view. So Facebook has its own analytics, Instagram has its own analytics, LinkedIn, TikTok, you know, Twitter, YouTube, they all have their own analytics within the app itself. But if you want to get a look at what all your platforms are doing at the same time, you're going to need something like Sprout Social to kind of see everything in full. And it really makes it a lot easier for you, just in case you need to show to your manager or, you know, your board of executives on, you know, how are you doing on social media? Like, what are we doing? Are we gaining followers? Are we losing followers? What posts are we making that are actually getting really good engagement, and why? Sprout Social really digs into the science of a lot of the posts that you're making. But also the main reason I love Sprout Social is that it comes with kind of a subscription membership where, you know, every month they actually do something similar to this, like a webinar, talking about all the new features that they're adding to Sprout Social, but also things you can do as a social media manager. So if you're really struggling with LinkedIn or you're struggling with Instagram, they have these webinars that they host, you know, almost monthly, where you can talk directly to other social media managers and really start to understand, you know, different strategies that you can take into doing and, you know, growing your platforms. The other thing I love is that their scheduler platform is really strong. Like, you can tag people directly on Sprout Social instead of needing to go onto Facebook and tag, Instagram and tag, you know, LinkedIn and tag. You can tag people directly on your post within Sprout Social, and it'll take care of a lot of the things that you really don't want to do within the apps itself. So there's just a lot that comes with it. Now, I usually recommend another app called Later, Later. It's a free version of kind of what Sprout Social does, but you're not going to get a lot of the analytics that come with it. If you just need something to, set up your posts to go out and kind of forget about it, then Later is great. Like I personally use Later on like my own personal social media for like the Reese's stuff because I don't really need a lot of the data analytics as a whole, just for my personal thing. But Sprout Social, if you really need data analytics and you really need a lot of information about your accounts as a whole, definitely do that. But there's a few free versions of, schedulers out there these days that kind of do a little bit of what Sprout Social does. I think there's another question.
Yeah, there's one more question on the video content. Do you suggest direct upload to the individual platforms or upload to YouTube and then use the YouTube video links to share in your actual posts?
Yeah, I always recommend native. So if you have a video, I recommend uploading it to YouTube and then uploading it to Facebook, right? Do not use the YouTube link onto Facebook. Do not use a link onto Instagram, mostly because Instagram doesn't allow links. You can't put a link in the comments and people can't click it. Same thing with LinkedIn.
Well,
I always recommend putting up the video itself. What's up?
Oh, well, I was going to say, and Facebook actually prefers their own content. So if it's uploaded on Facebook and if you share a YouTube link, they have a tendency, their algorithms push it down as opposed to if it's native Facebook content,
Right.
They post it more.
Yeah, keep in mind, a lot of these platforms, their main purpose is they want you to stay on their platform for as long as possible, right? They don't want you to go onto Facebook and then see a link that'll take you to YouTube. They want you to stay and watch a video on Facebook. Instagram wants you to stay and watch videos on Instagram. Same thing with YouTube and TikTok and LinkedIn. They all want your attention. There's only 24 hours in a day and they want all 24 of it, right? So, when you're uploading content, always upload natively. Try to avoid, linking from one to the other because again, a lot of them don't like it when you do that, and it'll be detrimental to the amount of views that you're going to get.
Okay, so you and I talked about this at our last NRMCA meeting, and the problem with hiring drivers. Sylvie, I know Larry was talking last time, he didn't really have an issue hiring drivers, but how has social media impacted the hiring of drivers, and maybe what things are you doing to excite and engage the younger generation to pursue that career in the country?
Yeah, it's really exciting, and it kind of blows my mind that is such an integral part of this industry that we're not really struggling with, because we're constantly uploading content, and a lot of the hashtags I use is like hashtag drivers. Hashtag CDL drivers. And we're also constantly posting, we're hiring. A lot of our trucks literally have on the back of them that we're hiring. We're always posting a picture or some kind of post about, hey, these are the roles that we're hiring for. We're posting it on Facebook, we're posting it on Instagram. We're not just posting it on job boards, right? We're not just leaving, it up to LinkedIn or Indeed or whatever job board that you use to rely on that. We actively throw posts out there that we are looking for drivers. And again, as I was saying before, when you constantly throw content out, people find out that you exist. If I was looking for a social media job when I was looking, I would not have thought to look for Sylvie Concrete because I did not know that company existed. Right. But now that we're throwing content out there, we're existing into the realm of, people's minds and subconscious. So maybe they're not necessarily looking for a role, but someone saw Sylvie and said, hey, I know Mikey who's looking for, a new driving job. Hey, Mikey, you should go check out Sylvie. I see that they do a lot of pours. The cool thing about us is that, our drivers have a lot of jobs that they can pour at. But when it snows, the cool thing about our drivers is that we actually have a contract with the state of New Jersey where we get to plow the New Jersey Turnpike Highway. So when it's snowing and projects are not being poured, we're using our drivers to plow the roads. So there's always opportunity where our drivers can be, making money and getting a lot of opportunities to, work on stuff. I know for the smaller
Andrew,
ones, they don't really get that, but yeah.
Interrupt. I thought that was really cool when you posted pictures of the ready mix trucks with the plows. We don't see that here in Michigan, so I thought that was really neat. They put plows on their ready mix trucks and plow their highways. I'd also like to correct what I stated before is Sylvie used social media and their presence, that digital advertising helped them solve that issue of drivers. They were looking for drivers before Larry corrected us here in that encourage our members. Social media is your presence on the internet. Right under your company's search is typically your social media
Right.
handles, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're at. And if you don't exist in those spaces, people can't find you. And it's important because they want to know who you are as a company. And I think that's one reason I wanted you to kind of come on and talk today, is because Sylvie does a good job of letting them know who they are as a company. And I think that makes them attractive to people who are looking for a job. They can see that you are doing things and what you're doing and how you're doing them and the people you. So I think that's a really important point to make for those of our companies that are not on social media or do not have a digital presence in some respect. How do you, make that transition to social media, but how it impacts your company culture and how people from the outside view you?
Yeah.
I got another statement here from Andrea out of Canada. Many Ontario producers have established an Instagram specifically to help attack the challenges they're having with recruiting and driving and to educate the public about their value propositions. So using Instagram, and that actually kind of goes right into my, one of the last questions I think we'll have here as you wrap up, Andrew, is say I'm a ready mix company or I'm a contractor and I don't have anything social media. I might have a personal Facebook account or a LinkedIn, okay? What do I start with? If I could pick, you could pick one platform, what would it be and why? And what would be the easiest way to get started?
So I always recommend, first of all, hi from Canada. That's way, way up north. I always recommend Instagram because, again, it is a Swiss Army knife of content. It's kind of a one-stop shop when it comes to making content. So you don't really have to kind of go everywhere to, upload. But you could also add Facebook on top of that because, again, they're the same company. Facebook owns Instagram. So if you have an Instagram, you can have a Facebook account, and then anytime you upload to Instagram, it automatically uploads to Facebook. So I'm going to kind of slide your answer and be, if you need to have two, definitely Facebook and Instagram together. And once you kind of dominate those two, then you can start to kind of reach out to the other platforms, such as LinkedIn or TikTok. I would recommend the next step would be TikTok and LinkedIn, simply because, again, short form video, and I think TikTok is just one of those platforms where they're exploding, and it's going to, unfortunately, probably put a lot of these other companies kind of to the wayside. Keep in mind, Instagram has 2 billion active users. 2 billion, right? Like, if you keep in mind, how many people are on this planet, there's about 8 billion people. 4 billion of them don't really use Instagram because they're in China, and China actually bans Facebook and Instagram. So, subtract 4 billion out of the population, you've got 4 billion people. 2 billion out of 4 billion are on Instagram, right? So if you're not, throwing your content out there, you're missing out on 2 billion people right now. Not all of them are going to care about Instagram, concrete and construction, but that's the kind of, world that lives on Instagram, right? It's not just a couple hundred or thousand people. It is 2 billion people. That is people that could be buying your concrete. That is people that could be engineers, designers, architects, people that either know someone in your industry or are in your industry. So that's why it's so important to, if you're going to pick one, definitely be on Instagram. It's going to take you time to build. up a platform, because again, you need to have someone to go to these projects. If you're a huge ready mix company, I highly recommend figuring out a budget to get 1 or 2 people on your social media team to, one, I would recommend to be a video editor and a photo editor, and then another person who's really good at just kind of managing these platforms, and then you use them to kind of go out to these projects and then collaborate in making these content together. But definitely Instagram, dominate one at a time, instead of trying to manage all 5 that you don't know, and then slowly build out your other platforms.
Well, Andrew, it doesn't look like we have any more questions here. I have your information up here for a few more seconds. I'm actually going to close out this webinar, and please feel free to email Andrew. I think he's got a lot of great knowledge for our industry, and I hopefully you're able to take something home today that you didn't have before. With that, the MCA is on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We are on Twitter. However, it is not it's active, but not only because we're posting on Twitter. Nope, it's not really an engaging conversation. And YouTube, we do have some videos on, not as active as I would hope, but we're doing what we can to keep these things moving. Videos and handouts of today's webinar are going to be available on the link that you see here on this last slide, the michiganconcrete.org/annual-conference. And the webinar coming up next Tuesday is with the National Ready Mix Concrete Association, Sustainability and Why EDPs Matter. So make sure to sign up for that. We have our MCA annual membership meeting on February 17th at 9:30 a.m. And if you would like to, or your company would like to sponsor one of these webinars, please go to the annual conference link below and sign up to sponsor one of the webinars or our awards program. With that, Andrew, thank you so much for coming and chatting today. Again, I hope you took something home with you, those of you who are still on. And to Sylvie Companies, thank you for loaning Andrew to us today for this presentation. We appreciate you being on here as well. So go follow Sylvie Companies to see how they're doing it, and make sure to follow us, the Michigan Concrete Association, on social media as well. Again, thank you everyone, and I'll leave the chat open for a few minutes just in case anyone wants to post here, but this webinar is complete, and we appreciate everyone who attended today.
I will say, if anyone's still on any social media managers, there is a new app, social media app called Clubhouse. I'm not sure if most of you are aware of it. It's a very exclusive app at the moment. You need an invite basis, but I've been on it probably for like 6 hours a day, just listening in on conversations about social media and listening in on different topics. And one of the things that's really incredible about this app is it's purely audio. So if you really love podcasts, and if you love just kind of listening in on conversations, or if you can imagine like attending a Zoom webinar like this, but just using it just strictly as audio, that's what Clubhouse is. And I was talking about Sylvie in construction and concrete in one of the topics in chats, and I think we gained like 200 to 300 followers on our page after talking about what we do and what I do as a social media manager. So some of you out there who are social media managers in this chat and you need an invite to Clubhouse, let me know. I've got about 4 or 5 left that I can bring people onto the platform. It is iPhone only, but it is definitely one of those new apps where you definitely want to get in and figure out if it's something that you would be in favor of joining. So Clubhouse is the app. Look it up. It's a lot of fun. I literally, like last night, I was on it till about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I started listening in on like 7 o'clock. And it's a time, the time really just goes away because you're just listening to really incredible speakers. So great, really fun app.
Thank you again, Andrew. Again, his contact information was in here. Email him, and we will wrap up this presentation today. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day. And Andrew, I'll talk to you again soon.
Cool beans.
Oh, wait, hold on. We have one. Oh, we just have a thank you. Never mind. I thought it
Okay.
was a question. It's a thank you. So
You're welcome.
I'm going to stop this. Have a wonderful day. Bye.